Hello there, friends. The United States Navy SEALs have been gaining a lot of attention recently because of the several special operations they have been involved with. Just take, for instance, the killing of Osama bin Laden, the international terrorist, and also the history of Chris Kyle, the famous Navy SEAL sniper whose life became a Hollywood movie, and some other military personnel that served with the Navy SEALs and now are famous because of the actions they have seen. Since they are special units, they have a lot of options in terms of the gear they want to choose for the missions they are going for. And their knives will naturally catch some of that attention because it's a natural question for people who are involved with survival training, survival techniques, bushcraft, or general bush activities to wonder what kind of knife or what kind of blade a US Navy SEAL would have on him. Now the truth is, people, they don't use just one type of blade or one type of knife. Like I said before, they can choose from a large variety of types and profiles according to their personal taste or according to the basic requirements of the mission they're going to do. Now the MK3 Mod 0 US Navy Survival Blade was designed and created back in the early 80s and used throughout the 1990s to replace the old USMC utility knife made by K-Bar that had been used previously since WW2. Now the United States Marine Corps will also issue this knife to the students of the U.S. Marine Recon Force that will take the course of diving combatant. As you can see, this is the first model of the MK3 knife, and you can tell it by the tip. The curving there is actually much deeper than the later models that started being made in the late 80s and in the 90s. The modification of the tip to a better, more resistant profile was actually a demand of the United States Navy itself. As for the handle, it is made of plastic, but it's high-impact resistant plastic. It has this very interesting texture on the handle, like a checked texture, which offers a very good grip for the knife, even when you have to work in wet conditions or wearing a glove. On the back of the knife, you have the palm, through which there's a hole for a lanyard. You can actually put some piece of paracord through it. It's not a very wide and large hole though. And the back of the knife has the palm, which is flat, and makes it a very good tool to be used as a hammer or to smash things. One of the great features of this knife is actually the sheath, which is also made of plastic, very resistant plastic, and it has a very interesting feature. As you can see here, there's a spring mechanism which actually locks in the blade inside the sheath really well. It gives the blade a very good retention inside there, and it's going nowhere. This is actually a very interesting feature because it prevents the person from losing the blade during a diving operation. There's also a drain hole here at the end tip of the sheath to allow the water to dry out of it when the person comes out of the water. So let's talk a little bit about the positive and negative aspects regarding this blade. Well, in my opinion, The first disadvantage it has is actually the serrations on the spine. I don't really like serrations for any kind of blades, not for machetes nor knives. In my opinion, what you do is you waste a good portion of your spine that could be used for several other tasks in the bush with a length of serration which is not long enough for you to actually accomplish a good work when you're trying to saw through wood, especially when you have this type of serrations here, which in my opinion don't work too well, at least not for wood. Now it might be that the serrations on this blade here were not actually made for wood, but for some other type of material that the divers have to work with during their operations, underwater operations for instance. If that's the case, I can understand that. But for a survival situation, considering a survival scenario, a jungle scenario where I am, I don't really like any of these serrations on blades, neither on the edge or on the spine. Another disadvantage in my opinion is what I've mentioned before, the fact that the tip is too thin. In my opinion, it will break on you during a task when you're actually digging through wood or you're trying to cut something, because there's not enough metal here to make it strong and protect that tip. You will probably end up with a broken tip and it might not be very good for you. So actually I think it is actually one of the reasons why the Navy itself requested the company that makes these knives to actually change the profile, like I said before, and make it stronger so it could be used more reliably in a survival situation, in my opinion. Now let's talk about some of the positive aspects regarding this knife. Well, I like the size and I like the weight of this blade. I think it's not too big or not too small, and it places itself well in this position that a survival blade must have. It will be a tool that will be used for heavy tasks and for small cuts, so it cannot be too big or too small. So in my opinion, this is a good tool for a survival situation considering the size and the weight of it. Another aspect to take on account is the fact that this knife is made of 440 steel, stainless steel. Now this makes it ideal first because it's easy to sharpen. You can easily restore the edge of your blade when you are in the field, when you are in the jungle, when you don't actually have access to all of that modern type of gear you have probably in your workshop. So this is a more commercial and friendly steel to be sharpened when you are out there in the bush. Another important feature is the fact that it is stainless. If you consider the place where I live, on the coast of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, I am in the Atlantic bush. This is very wet, this is very humid here. It rains all the time, and I am really near the coast, I'm really near the sea. So any other blades which are not stainless steel here, they will rust. This is a problem you will constantly have in areas like where I am now. So for me, having a stainless steel blade which is actually easier to sharp than other types of stainless steel metal is a total advantage. It's a total positive aspect for this blade considering where I am, at least for my conditions here. And one last positive aspect regarding this knife, like I mentioned before, is the fact that the sheath offers you a very good retention for the blade. This and all the other features that I have actually mentioned before make this a very good blade for you to have in a survival situation, especially considering the aspects I've mentioned regarding the area where I am. appreciated the review on my MK3 US Navy survival knife. This was Giuliano Toniolo from Brazil, and I'll see you in the boonies.